All right. My name is Tyler Davis, and I am the host of Legal Roundup here at Pepper and Odom. And today we got some questions for our attorneys in office. We have Sean Chun and Daryl Porter. So we're going to get into it and start asking these questions that most people that are not lawyers and that don't really know, like me, myself, despite being here for 2 years, should probably know because I was talking to Pepper earlier about this, and I was like, you know, the thing is what is the first thing you should do if you're in a car wreck? Somebody, let's say you're on the interstate, and somebody just, you're kind of, trying to get off, you pull off, and you're still kind of going slow, you're almost up to speed, and somebody just plows right into the back of you and sends you off into the median on the side. So what do you do? Do you get out the car if you can get out the car, or what do you do? Do you pull off out of the road and get out of traffic, or do you call your mom? Do you call the police? What do you do? You know?
Yeah, great question. And I think your average person that's involved in a car accident, initially, obviously, you got adrenaline running and you don't know what your injuries are. And so, my advice, and now I'm not a medical doctor, but my advice is to be still, and if you can, call 911. That should be the first thing. If you're conscious, sometimes we have people that are they're knocked unconscious, and in that case, you don't really have a lot of control over what you're doing or what's to be done. But if you can, sit still, call 911, let the paramedics show up and assess what may be happening with you from what they can see um, upon arriving on the scene, or even a police officer. Let them give you instructions as to what you should be doing when they arrive upon the scene. Because again, your adrenaline is running, probably not really knowing what just happened to you, other than I've been involved in a car accident. You may not know the extent of your injuries on the outside, but definitely on the inside um, of your body as well.
Yeah, that was going to be pretty similar to what I would say is, you know, like Attorney Porter was saying, you don't know all the injuries right up front, but you don't know how bad things could be. So I would say first is definitely, assess yourself if you can in that situation or anyone else in your car and see if there is any need for immediate medical attention, which is a very possible thing when you're in a car accident.
That's correct.
So that was something I was thinking of, was most people, they just freak out, immediately. I remember the first time I was in a car, and I hit somebody, so I was at fault. I didn't know what to do. But my car was in the median, and it was stuck in the median because, my car was literally like a deck of Uno cards away from the ground itself already. So it was super low, and I just plowed right into the median. I was stuck, so I was already off the road, and I was just like, oh God, I hit somebody. What am I going to do? And my car is like, the whole passenger side was just crushed in and caved in. I drove the car away from the accident, so, which was crazy enough. But the guy I hit maybe got a scratch, and he was an older guy, maybe 90 something years old. Got arrested, so I think he died later on, like that year. Thank God I didn't get sued for that, I guess. But
Yeah, this kind of took a turn, unexpected turn. I'm almost afraid to ask if he died as a result of the accident.
I think he was having some heart issues.
Jeez.
He was rather old. I think
Okay.
he's in his late 80s, 90s, something like early 90s, something like that. He's from Houma, Louisiana, and
Yeah, I know where that is.
um,
Way down there.
that's way down in Louisiana. I've never been to Houma. Of course, I've been to NOLA like most Mississippians, but I think a lot of people they get confused because when they hit somebody, they automatically go and they apologize, and I've heard that's you don't do that. Period. Like oh no, it's all my fault. Like I'm so sorry. I should have been paying attention, and then that just kind of doesn't that put them at fault technically?
I definitely would never say I'm at fault. I see the apologizing thing just out of instinct. I wouldn't recommend it. I would instead, when you're talking to the other individual, I'd be checking on them, making sure they're all right, I guess, instead of saying I'm sorry, or especially not admitting fault. And yeah, just making sure they're there. Make sure that when the police come, that you give them a factual side of the story. You know, you don't want to put blame on anybody. You don't want to admit fault, but just kind of stay in a neutral zone if you can.
I should have been looking this up. If I am not mistaken, um,
I'll say this. If you
yeah,
were to say to the other party that you're sorry, it is your fault, it would be admissible in court as a statement made by an opposing party. And especially, it would be against your interest to make that to them or have that put in the police report.
And see, that's what I was thinking too. Was it's admission of guilt to a degree. So if somebody were to do that, and I see it all the time. People will get out, oh, it's my fault, you know. And like in my instance, obviously I was at fault. I hit the guy right in the rear end. So you know, but I got out and I checked on him, and he was furious over a scratch. And I looked at my car and I was like, man, dude, I'm so cooked right now, dude.
yeah.
Um,
And I just wanted to make sure there was not an exception to that in the rules of evidence, Mississippi rules of evidence, that wouldn't allow it in. And so, but Sean is right. I would not, you know, and again, probably prior to actually practicing, you may have gotten out the car. I'm so sorry. I didn't.
For sure.
I wasn't watching what I was doing, or I was on my phone, or something of that nature. And we come across cases. We get cases all the time where people are admitting. You know, they'll admit to the police officer that they were, they were acting negligently. And a lot of times when when we're working the insurance company, when we send off letters of representation, and the insurance company contacts us as in response to that letter of representation, they'll accept full liability on behalf of their insured, because that person has admitted to them over the phone that they were the ones who were at fault. Which, of course, in our line of work, that's a great thing when liability is not disputed, because the person admitted to being negligent. It does make our job easier, and so now we're just down to having a discussion about the damages that our client received as a result of the other person's negligence, versus having to argue whether or not that person was negligent and what the damages are. And so, yeah, you get into the accident, you need to let EMS, law enforcement officials assess you, and then different variables come into play after that as to what you should do. But I can tell you what you should not do. Do not, under any circumstances, call the insurance company.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to get into. Was kind of what you shouldn't do. But as far as, so I know that every accident has to be different, obviously. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure there's like a due process that almost nearly every wreck, generally speaking, could follow, like a step by step. Like, okay, I'm in a wreck, so first thing is call law enforcement, right?
That's right. I would agree. Yeah.
Okay.
If you can.
Yeah, if you're capable, conscious, if you're able to move around. Pepper made a good comment earlier. That was, you should move your car out of traffic.
If you can. Yeah.
But my argument is, as a person that isn't a lawyer, if it was me and let's say somebody hit me in my car, which I would be enthralled by. The immediate first thing I would think is, obviously I need to call 911, but this other traffic is coming 75, 80 miles an hour, and we know how people drive around here on I-55. They're doing every bit of 80 to 100, if not, more. I mean, some people. I mean, So I guess the first thing you should do is, if you can, get out of traffic, right? But if
Yeah.
you can't, first things first, you need to call your local authorities, 911.
And say you can't get your vehicle out, but if maybe you know you're fine to leave, I would get myself off of the road because, like you were saying, people can drive a little crazy, and someone could be on their phone, and now they're hitting two cars that were in a wreck in the middle of the road because they just didn't see them, and you're putting yourself into danger by remaining if you're not capable of leaving the vehicle.
And and even with that, and I'm not disagreeing with Sean. I'm just what I would say is you got to make, if you can think to, you got to make a judgment call there, because you might have neck or back issues, and you don't want to further aggravate those by moving. And so, but again, you got to weigh your options. If I was sitting in the middle of I-55 and I felt fine, and a lot of times people feel fine because adrenaline is pumping, and they don't know how injured they really are. But again, I-55 traffic may be zooming around you, or it may not. And so you got to make a judgment call there if you can think to do so. I think rule of thumb is to sit still and wait for emergency personnel to show up, though, to one, control traffic, do traffic control. Well, let me back up and say, one, to make sure you're okay. Two, to do traffic control to protect the people who have been involved in the accident from being hurt any further, or those who could potentially be involved in that accident from being injured or killed. And so, you just kind of, if you can, you got to try to assess what's going on, your surroundings, and what's going on outside your car, and what's going on inside the car as well.
That makes a lot of sense, because I feel like, especially here, people have a bad habit of seeing either somebody just going like, I can't tell you how many times on my way on the spillway coming here that I'll be in the right lane, and people are just no turn signal right into the left lane, and then all of a sudden I'm 10 feet away from somebody's bumper because they're going 25 in a 45, and then you can almost hit them. Luckily enough, I can get out of the way if I have good response. But if it's somebody that's maybe doesn't have such a great response, or let's just say hypothetically they're drinking and driving, which happens, and they don't react fast enough. Boom. Same thing if somebody's stopped on the side of the road, or if there's a tractor. God knows we have so many tractors here. I'm amazed that we don't have more. I don't hear more about wrecks. People hitting back in the tractors.
Before I walked in here, actually, I'm working on one but the tractor was on a trailer, and it came off the trailer and ran into and hit one of our clients. Yeah.
Whoa! So it just wasn't strapped down or something? It just came off?
Apparently, it wasn't strapped down properly, and so that's something that it's just another part of our job. You got a duty to secure your load.
That's right.
I don't care what you're hauling. You got a duty to make sure that load is secured, and you got a duty to ensure that it continues to stay secured as well. Because if you could be negligent by not having strapped down or secured whatever it is that you may be hauling. And this is coming from somebody who goes mud riding as much as he can during the warm months, and so. Like I'm always constantly, I may be pulling anywhere between 3 to 6 4-wheelers or ATVs at one time, and frequently we have to pull over so I can make sure that the straps are still there, make sure that everything is still locked down to that trailer, because God forbid we're going down the road to our destination and one of them comes loose and comes off the trailer.
2,500, 15,000 pounds. Hitting a car is not, it's just dead weight.
It's just dead weight.
Just dead weight.
And that can cause a lot of damage.
It
can seriously injure a person as well.
I guess, when the authorities do get there, I guess I should say, so once the authorities are there, what would be your next line of things that you would tell people to do? I feel like there's a chronological order that a lot of people that get into wrecks can follow. So they call the authorities, and the authorities get there. What should they be doing other than sitting? If they can move around afterwards, or during, let's say, what else should they do? Should they, should I know that they need to take pictures if they can of the crime scene, or not crime scene, but the accident. Not the crime scene. It's not a murder.
No, I would request. I would request EMS. If a police officer shows up, I would request paramedics. Because again, an individual may seem fine on the outside, but internally you don't really know what's going on because the adrenaline is running. And I don't care who you are, you get involved into an accident, your adrenaline's gonna be pumping. I got a good case in point. I got a really good friend of mine who was just involved in an accident earlier this week. The police report indicated that there was no apparent injury. Well, he has a broken wrist. That's because he appeared to be fine on the outside. He was mobile. He was able to walk around after the accident, but he has a broken wrist as a result of the accident. He got his X-rays that night, the night of the accident, and they found out that his wrist was actually broken. And so again, I would request paramedics to come and just at least evaluate you there, or definitely that's at the very least have them evaluate you there. But a step further, I would I'd allow them to transport me to the nearest emergency room as well, so you can get a better look at what could be. If nothing else, you get a peace of mind that it's not worse than what it could be.
I think, what is the term for that? It's delayed onset pain, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a phantom injury.
Well, I mean,
Well-
we. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say too, from my personal experience, sometimes you could have that pain right away and it ceases, and you think it was just pain in the moment, and it turns out to be something. Because I tore my labrum in the 6th grade. Terrible pain that day, but fine the next day. Well, I didn't learn it was a torn labrum until my senior year of high school when I was getting an MRI for something completely different.
No kidding.
And so it's stuff like that where you could have a delayed pain. You could have pain in the moment that ceases, but you don't know what's going on actually inside of your body. So it is important you see medical attention.
That's right. I mean, we've had clients that've been involved in accidents, and then the pain may not set in until 3 or 4 days later. We had clients that had an accident on Wednesday, and Sunday they started having really severe shoulder pain, and come to find out they have a torn, oh goodness,
Rotator cuff?
a rotator cuff. They have a rotator cuff tear. Maybe it's a partial tear, and so you really got to be conscious. And I know in this day and time, going to the emergency room is not the most what's the word I'm looking for?
Enjoyable
It's
experience?
not the most enjoyable experience, particularly when you have a long wait to see a physician. I would encourage anybody, despite if the wait is 12 hours, I think you should stick the 12 hours out and see a physician, because you just really don't know what may be going on inside your body. And by not seeing a physician, let's say in the case of Sean, thank God he was not in a car accident, but let's say he had been in a car accident in 6th grade, had a torn labrum, and then he didn't go see a doctor to the 12th grade. 6 years later,
He's been walking around with that.
I mean, he wouldn't be able to make any type of claim either, because
it's
he didn't go to one is definitely past the statute of limitations. But hell, let's say he even went there. He went there before. Let's say he waited 2 years after. He waited 2 years after the incident. Well, a lot can happen in 2 years, and so what happens is he's now diminished his claim for the torn labrum as a result of the car accident, and he could have fallen, had another accident from that time forward. Basically, he he minimizes, and again, he minimizes the value of his claim. Had he just gone initially to the doctor and they said, "Oh yeah, you got a torn labrum," and so 2 years later, yeah, he still got that torn labrum, but who's to say it's from the car accident? Who's to say it wasn't from him falling or something falling on him or something of that
Like
nature?
in my case, just playing football.
Or playing football. And so, yeah, that's
Many
why
things.
it's important, and people should really know that if you've been involved in an accident, it's important for you to go ahead and seek medical treatment. Just one, for peace of mind, and two, because you really just don't know unless you're a doctor or a physician, a medical professional, and you don't really know what's going on with you. Then you should 100% go get checked out, even if the wait is 12 hours. And I get it. Nobody wants to sit in a cold, depressing hospital waiting to be seen, particularly when you feel perfectly fine. But to not do so, and there is actually something wrong with you, could diminish any type of claim that you would have. Diminish the value, I should say, of any claim that you would have.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, anything can happen. You could be
And that's what the insurance company's argument is going to be, is that, how can you prove definitively that this happened as a result of the car accident when that happened 2 years ago?
Yeah. There's no medical reports, no nothing.
Nothing to indicate that other than you come back 2 years later. Or even in our case, let's say I don't think you need to go past 10 days without seeking medical attention if you've been involved in an accident. You really need to go the day of.
Absolutely.
And you can get away with the next seven to 9 days. But after that 10th day, it becomes critical, it becomes crucial, and you, in my opinion, begin to diminish the value of your potential claim.
And that's the big thing that I know the insurance companies are. They're going to argue you on everything.
Oh yeah.
To the T.
Their job is to save money. Our job is to get you money all day, every day.
That's right. And I think, aside from that, as far as in a chronological order, I guess. So, call authorities and EMS, and then get a medical report. So essentially, that's up there with police report, medical report, and what else do you think? After that, which should be of the most importance as far as someone that's been in a car wreck. What should they do? They've called the authorities. The authorities are there. They ask for EMS. The EMS gets there. That usually happens anyways. Police get there first. Medical gets there second. If there's fire, the fire department will be there before everyone else. So, I guess my next question is what usually comes afterwards as far as what you should do?
You should be taken to the hospital.
Okay.
You want to know what happens after that?
Yeah.
That's easy.
What's the due process for someone that's been in an accident?
Yeah.
Like after they've gotten, medical, let's say they go in an accident, they've been to the hospital, and they got checked over that night.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well.
And released?
Yeah. That you broke your ankle, you got a punctured spleen, they're going to have to stay overnight.
Yeah, for that, they're going to have surgery if you got a punctured spleen. That part, this is the easiest part.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to hear this, and they need to remember it as well. After you've sought medical attention, you need to call me and Sean.
That's right. So that's.
You need to call 601-202-1111.
That's right.
Ask for Attorney Chun or ask for Attorney Porter.
That's right.
Yeah, that part is really easy.
Oh, yeah.
I need to repeat the number?
No.
Oh, okay.
So
Just checking.
I guess that goes to my next question. Why is it so important that you get a personal injury attorney? Why is that? Can you tell me? Obviously, I know why, but for somebody else that's not me, why would it be as critical? Because I know some people out here, they think they know everything because we have Google. And they're like, I can go on Google and see it. I can take my own case. I can deal with this. I went to the doctor. It's cool. I broke my leg. I'll be fine. I can deal with the insurance company.
Yeah, well, you got rights, and we're here to help you take full advantage of that. It's what we do. We went to school for 3 years at law school, not counting anything prior to that. This is what we do, and while you think you may be able to handle it on your own, you know, I guess like with my labrum, I thought I could handle it, but I needed a doctor. And you might think you can handle your case, but it's definitely going to help a whole lot more if you've got someone who specializes in doing it to help you out.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree with Sean wholeheartedly. And the other part to it is that the insurance company, they're going to try to take advantage of you. They're going to try to take advantage of the fact that you were involved in a car accident, that it was not your fault, and that you've been injured. And they're going to try to. One of the first things when people are not severely hurt, and I say severely hurt, meaning that they didn't have to stay overnight in the hospital, they didn't lose a limb, they nothing's been broken or fractured. Of course, they they didn't die as a result of the accident. They wouldn't be able to do anything after that anyway. But one of the first things that are on people's mind is I gotta get my car fixed because I gotta go to work. And so the first thing they do, they pick up the phone, they call the insurance company. And what happens when they call the insurance company is they get put on a recorded line. And yeah, the insurance company is going to talk to them about their property damage, getting them put in the rental so they can make sure they can get to work and getting their car fixed or totaling their car out so they can go buy a new car so they can get transportation to go to work. But the insurance company is also going to question them about their injuries as well. And when they find out that you have some type of medical, that you went to the hospital, that you call EMS, that you went to the hospital and you got some type of medical bill, what they're going to do is offer to pay your medical bill plus give you $1,500 for pain and suffering, or give you $5,000 for pain and suffering. And the reason they're doing that, and they're doing it so quickly, is to get you to sign off on these releases, releasing them from any liability, from any wrong, and saying that you've accepted that amount of money, whatever, however little it may be, and you agree to release their insured and them from any liability, any future claims, or any lawsuits that you hadn't even filed.
Oh, wow.
And they do that because they'll do it really quickly, and they'll pressure you, and they'll go ahead and they'll send you the documents while they're on the phone with you. That's so you don't call us. Because they know when it's their insured's fault, when it's not your fault, and you've been hurt, and you got the damages to go along with it, they know that the $1,500 that they're offering you, or the $5,000 that they're offering you, could very well be $25,000 or $50,000 that you would be entitled to. And so that's why it's critical. And I know attorneys, particularly plaintiffs' attorneys, we get a bad rep. I don't know really why, but we get a bad rep. But realistically, our job is to help people know what their rights are and what their options are after they've been involved in an accident that's no fault of their own.
It's
You
like
know,
a no-brainer to
yeah.
get help,
That's
but
exactly right.
if you don't know, I mean, like Sean said, if you're not a professional, you can try to figure it out all day long, but unless you have any kind of training with it, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. That's what I'm saying is, I feel like it is probably one of the most important things is to get a professional that knows what they're talking about.
That's right.
If you don't, how are you going to protect yourself?
That's right.
And in a lot of places, it's very, 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 very buddy, and so all the insurance folks they play along with each other. My mom worked for Aflac for so long, and I'll tell you, hand in hand, them and dentists especially, as soon as your premium's out, if you're in the middle of a procedure and you're on nitrous, they will come in there and go, oh, by the way, here's the oxygen, whoop, and you'll feel every.
Because it's cheaper, right?
It's a lot cheaper. They're all into cutting that cost, right? So
Yeah.
what should somebody, let's say that has been in a car, what should you not do? Obviously, we don't want to talk to the insurance company without an attorney, but what's some other things that, including the insurance, maybe we can go into depth in that as far as, like, what are things that you should absolutely not do if you're in an accident? I don't care if it's a car accident or a commercial vehicle accident, motorcycle accident. What's the do's and don'ts?
Well, some of them we talked about, like not admitting fault already. I would also say back to the start
Unless
of the
you are at fault.
Well, then you probably should. I don't know. Some people I've heard people that are at fault fight it and win the case and actually get awarded for it.
God. And then also, I would say at the scene, we talked about not moving if you think you may need more help, but also try not to escalate things because I know you could be emotional at that time. They may be emotional at the time. Tyler, you talked about in your wreck, the man coming out very upset. Escalating things in that situation is only going to make things worse. So I would definitely recommend avoiding that at all
don't
costs.
Find anybody.
Yeah,
obviously,
for sure.
Hit your car. Don't find.
No, you don't have court and boxing matches on the side of the road. That's what the courtroom is for, and that's what the boxing ring is for. If you got access to the boxing ring, you got access to the court.
Well, I feel like in my situation, if I would have fought a 90-year-old man, I would have lost either way. So if I
Probably.
lost fighting an old man, I lost to a 90-year-old. Well, if I beat up the 90-year-old, then I'm just.
It just would have been a bad person all the way around.
So obviously, you shouldn't admit fault. You shouldn't escalate. Don't overreact, right? And you shouldn't talk to the insurance company without a lawyer.
That's exactly right.
Or
And I mean, and you need to seek treatment. Again, 12-hour wait at the ER again is not a very popular thing. Nobody wants to do that, but it is something that I believe firmly that you should do. And all this goes to the way we view a case. It's like a three-legged stool, and if you remove any one of those legs, then the stool will fall over. Therefore, you don't have a personal injury case. One of the legs is that it can't be your fault. It has to be somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
The second leg of that is that there has to be money to get. And so whether that be through their liability insurance or through your underinsured motorist coverage. And then the third one is that there has to be damages. If you follow everything we've said up until this point, or if all those boxes check off based off what we said up to this point, you got a personal injury case. The damages come from you taking an ambulance ride and going to a hospital and being checked out. There's a damage. Obviously, if somebody rear ends you, well, it's their fault. Yeah. And if they have liability insurance, there's the money. If they don't have liability insurance and you have uninsured motorists, then there's the money. And so all those three boxes check off, the stool stands, and you have a personal injury case. But if you take one of those away, the stool falls over.
No case.
And you have no case.
It's like when Pepper says all the time, if you don't know the who, what, when, why, or where, why.
And how.
You can't figure out the how.
That's exactly right.
Well, I guess for the people that would be watching and seeing, okay, now they know what to do, what not to do. When they're looking for an attorney, I could ask, what should you look for when you're looking for a personal injury attorney? But I feel like just giving them our number would be a better answer.
I was going to say you can look all you want, but I mean, and I'm obviously a little biased, but you should call Attorney Chun or myself. Yeah. We do this day in and day out. Literally, that's what we do. When we come in the morning, we're doing personal injury. When we leave, we're doing personal injury. When we stick around and do podcasts, we're talking about personal injury. Probably on the weekends, we're probably talking about personal injury. I know we definitely see them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this type of work, it changes you. It changes the way you view things. It changes the way you approach different things. Attorney Chun and I were on the road a couple weeks ago, and there was I was driving, he was passenger, and we were in the middle of a conversation, and a semi was coming on to the roadway. He got completely quiet, And I didn't say anything. He got completely quiet for about 30 seconds, and then he picked up where we left off in the conversation, and we kept driving for a few minutes, and then I just asked him, I said, did that semi make you nervous? He said, hell yeah, it did.
It'll for sure change you.
That's because since doing this type of work, he knows the type of damage that a semi truck can cause you. He knows the type of injuries you can sustain from a semi truck that is, that may just not be paying attention, or that may not see you. You see him obviously because of the size, but he may not see you because of your size as opposed to his size. And so, and those are things, when you start doing personal injury work, like we do, you tend to pay way more attention to the drivers around you. We're gonna be confident in our driving all day, every day. He may not have been. He was the passenger, so he might not have been fully confident in my driving abilities. But I'm driving, so I'm extremely confident in my driving abilities. But as I told him, I don't trust anybody else that's driving around
100%.
me. And it's because, again, this work, we see some horrible things.
Yeah.
We see some really, fatalities as a result of car accidents, or as a result of somebody leaning over to pick up their phone, or even like turning the radio knob, and you didn't think, in this day and time, people still use their actual radio. And so something as simple as taking their eyes off the road for a split second, and it could cause somebody to lose their life. Or making a bad decision to go out and have a couple of drinks and get on the road, and you could cause people their lives. We worked cases where people were injured by drunk drivers. People reached down to grab their phone, and so it makes you more aware of the other people and the other drivers, and it probably makes you a better driver and a safer driver as well, because you don't want the stuff that we deal with, the stuff that we see. We don't want that happening to us. We definitely don't want it happening to anybody else for that matter. And so we're human beings. We want people to be safe. Now I understand we make money off of people not doing what they're supposed to do and driving safe, but generally and genuinely, we want people to drive safe on the road. But we know there's always going to be some bad actors out there, and so we're here to protect the people who fall victim to the bad actors out there. Make sure they know their rights and make sure they get paid. Now we work to try to make people, we try to make people whole, or put them back in the position that they were in prior to the accident. And we work really hard at that, and I think we do a really good job at that as well.
I think so too. I think from everything I've heard about our practice here is we're very thorough and very, what's the word I'm looking for? You just said it a minute ago. I would say conscious of certain, like you said, you guys are super conscious about that stuff. So I'm sure that whenever you guys get people in, it's a very emotional time for a lot of people. Some people, they've lost everything in those instances. I think I was probably about 9 or 10, maybe 8 years old. I used to live in Puckett, Mississippi, and a girl I went to school with, her name was Brittany. I'm not going to say any last names or anything, but one of her siblings passed away in a car accident. And it's just such a scary thing. So even when I'm on the road, because I've raced on a track, I watched my granddad, drag race for years. My dad's a truck driver. My grandfather was a truck driver, and I've heard horror stories about just the destruction it can cause, because those trucks, like especially with commercial vehicles, those accidents are always catastrophic typically, unless you're very lucky. I was in an accident with an 18-wheeler with my great-grandmother when I was probably 2 or 3. And everything I can remember was just 1 minute, all I heard was, "Get down," and she put her arm over me, and the whole front end of the car was gone. 2 seconds. But we weren't hurt. But
Thank God.
her Winnebago was, or not Winnebago, her station wagon, I don't know why I said Winnebago. Her station wagon was gone, pretty much. Just the whole front end, the engine was sitting like 30 feet in the opposite direction. So I know that it can be really, really crazy.
And I want to make a note too. I know we, in our profession, it's like we come down hard on truck drivers or the semis. Sometimes we've represented semi truck drivers. They've been involved where they call them four wheelers, I believe, is where people in the regular vehicles, they've been negligent and they've caused the accident. They've actually caused the accident with the semi. Because I guess in this business, you realize that, they have to abide by certain rules and regulations, semis that is, but we have an obligation to abide by certain rules and regulations as it pertains to being on the road as well. There's no way that I'm going to pull out in front of a semi barreling down I-55 where the speed limit for the most part is 70 miles an hour. I'm not going to pull out in front of that semi going 40 miles an hour, which is what the minimum is on Interstate 55.
Yeah.
And you got to be conscious of that. You can't be cutting these trucks off because if they're loaded, then their stopping distance decreases. It decreases significantly. And so you got to, someone is not driving a semi, you got to be conscious of the semi driver as well. And so, again, it's not only just the semi drivers that become negligent. Again, we've represented semi drivers who were injured as a result of someone in their regular vehicle running into them or committing a negligent act that caused that semi driver to sustain bodily injuries. And so, we represent everybody. If you've been involved, and this is about to sound like a commercial, but if you've been involved in a car accident that was due to no fault of your own, or you were involved in an accident period due to no fault of your own, we're gonna represent you, and we're gonna fight really hard for you.
That's right. Yeah, we do it all.
That's right.
Minus medical because medical malpractice is just.
It's a different animal, but we work with really great people that do med mal. We've been, as a matter of fact, some of the medical malpractice claims that have come in through our office, I've sent them out to some of the colleagues that we work with, some of the attorneys that we work with, and they've been extremely successful in getting with those individuals who've suffered injury, or in a couple cases who've died as a result of medical malpractice. They've been really successful in making sure that they recover what they deserve as a result.
I know medical malpractice is a really hard area to hit.
It is.
But I guess overall, man, that I think wraps up pretty much most of the questions I think I had as far as what most people frequently ask is like, what should I do if I am in an accident? What should I look for in a lawyer? I guess, everything's about the same. So if you're hit by a car or hit by a motorcycle or anybody, if you're in an accident and you've been hit, especially in the state of Mississippi, if you're rear-ended, I know that whoever is the negligent party, they're automatically typically at fault, right?
Well, it's a rebuttable presumption that the person who runs into the back of you is negligent. Rebuttable presumption. What that means is that it's assumed that they're at fault, but you can rebut it, meaning that they may not be at fault. The person in front of them may have brake checked them, or that person may have been rear-ended by somebody else that pushed them into the back of that other car, making the third car the negligent individual, negligent person, as opposed to the second vehicle. And so, again, rebuttable presumption is presumed that that person is negligent, but you can rebut that presumption, particularly if there are other circumstances that come into play with that. And so, you know, if it's a two-car accident and you're going down the highway and all of a sudden that a car behind you slams into the back of you and it's just y'all two, it might be a little difficult to rebut the presumption.
Yeah, unless
Odds
there's
are-
some dash cam showing something,
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna be really tough.
Oh yeah, and
Nowadays,
people. I
there's
think
so
people
much
should.
of that,
I think people should invest in those GoPros, whatever
Dash
they are, the
cams,
dash
some-
cams as well. We've been able to, reach settlements fairly quickly, particularly on when it looks as if liability is going to be in dispute. We've been able to reach settlements very quickly when you have those dash cams, and we play that video for those insurance companies to say, nah, look, this is what your client did. Like, particularly when people pull out in front of other individuals, because that's where the rebuttable presumption will come in. Sometimes people pull out in front of people,
and it causes them to.
and it causes them to rear end them. And so, again, to rebut the presumption that our client is guilty, we show a video of their client pulling out going 2 miles an hour when the speed limit for our client is 40 miles an hour. Well, it's the person who pulled out's fault. You know,
I
and
can't
so
tell you how many times I've
happens all the time.
It happens to me every day. Somebody pulls out, and I mean, I'm booking it 55, 60 miles an hour on that speedway. And I'm just like, dude, I'm in the left lane. Why?
Yeah.
You're literally going the snail's pace. Why are
Yeah.
you jumping out? You know, and that goes back to commercial vehicles. Any kind of commercial vehicle. It doesn't matter if it's a dump truck or if it's a 18-wheeler or tractor trailer. It doesn't matter. If you jump out in front of them, they're not going to be able to stop.
No.
And if there's another one in front of them and he has to stop,
It's all bad.
you become a metal and mush sandwich.
Yeah, it's all bad. It's all bad.
It's all bad, man.
And something else I wanted to point out, you know, like what people should look for in a good attorney. I think, you got the bigger law firms out there, and you might see them on TV more. You might see more billboards. You might hear more radio ads with them as well.
Yeah.
You may see more social media posts with them too. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily better.
Yeah.
Okay. It just means they got more money for advertising. That's all it means.
Yeah. They have a bigger team.
That's all that means, because I think, and we're not the only firm that's like this, I think you should look for a firm and an attorney who, one, knows what they're doing. Again, as I told you, this is what we do. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. Even when we're not in this office, this is what we do. I take phone calls from people who've been involved in accidents over the weekend. It's because I care.
Yeah.
It truly is because I care about making sure that those people get fair and good representation. And so the other thing here is we're going to treat you like your family.
That's right.
We're going to answer your phone calls. Somebody's going to talk to you. We're going to make sure that we do a good job. And we're also going to walk you through the process. We're going to let you know, hey, listen, this is what this looks like for setup and treatment. This is what it looks like for demand stage. This is what this looks like if we have to file a lawsuit. This is what litigation looks like. This is what discovery looks like. This is what it looks like if we have to go to trial. Because we want to be very transparent. We want to be, we want to be open with our clients and let them know. That way, nobody's throwing any curveballs. In return, we expect for our clients to be transparent with us and honest with us about things as well, because we're your attorney. We're representing you.
Yeah, there's no
And
reason to lie
that's
to
right.
us.
No, if you're gonna
hide anything,
if you're gonna if two people you want to tell the truth to, the good Lord and us,
That's right. Yeah, we're not here to hurt you. We're here to
No.
But I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
They're here. I'll even say that because there's been so many people I have talked to whenever your paralegal was still here at the time. Was people come to us from, like, I'm not going to say any names, other larger law firms.
Oh yeah, all the time.
We may not have a big marketing team that can consistently pump out 50 commercials or whatever the case is. The thing is we're not a massive firm, let's say, that's nationwide, but we have a more family-oriented feel. When you get with a larger firm, their attention on the individual is much smaller.
Oh yeah.
Because the bigger the firm, the more clients, obviously, right? But when you come with a smaller firm, come and get with a smaller firm and hire a smaller base, you get way more attention. So,
Yep.
We got, such and such calling us every hour on the hour. We answer nearly every single, if not every single one of those calls.
Yeah.
Hey, my dog just, went outside and I don't know, my kidneys ain't feeling
Yeah,
good.
I spent 20 minutes on. I had a lunch meeting the other day. It started at 11:45. It was gonna take me from the office to the place we were meeting for lunch. It's gonna take me 20 minutes to get there, and so I needed to have left it no later than 11:25. Well, I had a client call in at about I don't know 11:15
Yeah.
maybe. Even 11:15 is it 11:15 or 11:20? But I took the call because I know they wanted to talk to their attorney, and they just wanted an update. And I already know this client, and I knew the client was going to spend some time on the phone, but that's my client.
Yeah, that's right.
And they deserve to have my attention as their attorney. They deserve to know what's going on in their case. If they want an update, I'm going to give them an update. And so I probably spent 30, I didn't probably, I spent 30 or so minutes on the phone with them. And I was late to that lunch meeting. I just had to apologize to the individuals that I was meeting with for lunch. It's like, hey, I had a client that I had to talk to on the phone.
Yeah.
We have clients, sometimes they just kind of pop up.
Yeah.
Or we take time to go meet with them, and a lot of clients at the end when they're getting settlement checks and if they come into the office, I like to meet them because we do a lot of stuff digitally, but it doesn't really beg for people to come inside.
Yeah.
Particularly since COVID and everything, we're really a hardcore digital firm. People don't even have to come in and sign contracts now. But at the end, they do like to come in and pick up their settlement check. And so I said all that to say this: a lot of times I never meet the client face to face until we get ready to do a settlement, or of course we get ready to do deposition prep, do prep for depositions. And so, but I try my best every single time. A lot of them, a lot of clients don't care. They're about to get a check. I don't care who's giving it to them. It could be you, me, Sean, paralegal, anybody. It could be the cleaning lady that's giving them their check, as long as they're getting their check. And so, but I do try with my clients is, if at all possible, when they're getting a settlement check, I want to meet them. I want to talk to them. I want to put a name to the face and to the voice. And so, but I think again that a lot of times is what sets us aside. You're 100% right. My 5 years of being here, we've received numerous clients. Numerous. I can't tell you how many clients that we've received from some of the other larger firms in this state. Just because they were never able to talk to anybody, not just the attorney, but I mean anybody. That's usually the first thing I always hear is that I hadn't spoken to anybody since I called the first day. Nobody. And it's not that they're treating. Some of them are waiting on treatment.
Yeah.
Some of them have finished treatment.
Yeah.
And we don't poach clients from anybody. One of the things we always tell them is that if you're representing, I can't give you any legal advice, so on and so forth. We don't aim to take clients from anybody. That's not our desire because we obviously don't want people taking clients from us as well.
That's right.
But we also believe that, and I don't mean to be cocky about it, but I think it's probably very rare that we have somebody take clients from us because we give them grade A service, in my opinion. Now, if there's a couple people out there that disagree with that, I would challenge them on it. Tell them that. I at least would like to sit down and know why they would disagree with that. But I believe that we provide our clients grade A, personal, family-oriented service.
I think with every industry, no matter what it is, you're always going to have people that are miserated. and miserable.
Always.
And you can't satisfy them. It doesn't matter if
No.
you gave them your left toe. I think we're about out of time, guys, but just for a good send-off, if you're in a car wreck, these are the things that you can do to have to actually stand and have a claim. So, first things first, you need to call authorities. Get medical evaluation. Don't talk to your insurance company. Don't wait for the last minute to file a claim. The longer you wait, the less of a claim you have. And at the end of the day, the motto here is if you get into a car wreck and you're injured, or if you're injured in any kind of case, don't get mad. Get PO'd.
Get PO'd. That's right.
Get PO'd. Well, guys, that's all the time we have today. I'm glad everybody stopped by to take some tips from our attorneys, Sean Chun and Daryl Porter. Thanks, guys, for being on the show.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
we can get another episode going next week and
Yeah.
find something
Looking forward to it.
we're
Always good.
interested in.